Okay, so last shot of the day. The last one I was working on, went ahead and added the lip sync, blah 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 blah, animated these guys, taking a bowl off the table from the soup kitchen, and now we're on to boom, another shot. Actually, you know what? I've got to run in the office and get my stylus. I'll be right back. Give me 30 seconds. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to think about on this shot is going to be whether I can, how do I get the workload down to the most manageable level? I'm thinking he should be looking this way. I guess I want to be here in the background. I must have a selection going on. Normal. What the heck is going on here? Oh, alpha. I was alpha locked. Well, I'm not going to edit that out because it's the kind of thing that can happen to anyone, and so now you get to see it happen in real time, and it turns out that there are definitely glitches that can occur. Okay, so if he was just moving his eyes like that and doing the lip sync thing, I think we probably could work with that. We need to give him his more rounded locks of hair, which obviously he has, and that's completely wrong. Stop. Yeah, so we'll kind of call this a correction. Let's go ahead and use black, but let's just erase this and let this serve as a guide. So that feels better. Maybe a little bit more down yonder. Okay. So now with that, we'll say, okay, this is our pose. By the way, I want to point something out here in KRITA. If you look at my mouse, you'll notice that the icon has a little trailing wiggly that shows you the current tool that's selected. You see it right there pretty well. That's actually a more valuable feature than you might think. And as I recall, it's right here in your general preferences, cursor shape. By default, it's no cursor, and what happens is you can often get in a situation where you're like moving your mouse around and you can't find it because the little dot is so tiny that it's hard to see. So just kind of a word to the wise on that particular point. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a traditional style ink job, which means I'm going to turn on stabilizing, and I'm actually going to turn this down so that I can just knock out this ink job. Post haste. You say, well, Dave, I thought your whole thing a couple weeks ago was that you weren't going to do traditional inking. And I kind of mentioned this in the last video, but basically what I've been doing is just kind of doing both, on the one hand, what's fun, but also, you know, once I got the workflow worked out, I'm finding that doing it this way seems to be just as fast, so whatever. Hello? Oh, I see. Boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to redo that line. That was a little sloppy. just absolutely sloppy. And in fact, trim that off. So what you get here on my YouTube channel is the unadorned actual process of rocking and rolling through, creating real animation for, yes, a real show. And it's absolutely nothing but fun, except when it's not, which it can be somewhat unfun sometimes, usually when the software is acting silly. Okay, let's back the heck up here, and yeah, I guess we'll probably do a little liquify job here just to tame that a bit. B key. So I'll have to manually sort of color in the whites of the eyes because I don't want to completely fill them in. Just 'cause I don't. Okay. Now I'm not going to put his mouth in this layer because of course that would be ridiculous. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just kind of put his arm down. Let me think about this one for a minute. What he actually says, hold on, I'm going to cough. Excuse me. What he says, I know, Asher, I'm sorry. It's just, there was this girl. Okay, so the question has to do with the hand. So his thumb is kind of pointing backwards. And that seems kind of elongated and actually fairly crappily drawn. Let's just redo that. Okay. So really, I'm not loving the positioning here on the arm. So what I'm fiddling with is the idea that, well, am I going to put the arm on a separate layer so that it can be animated? I'm thinking probably that's better. Okay, let's come back here and just go. That'll work. Okay, let's save this as a KRITA file. And sometimes you just want to think about what you're doing. But yeah, I think in this case what I'm going to do is probably just go ahead and do the keyframing here in KRITA, expect. So Control X, Control V, that just slapped his arm into the separate layer, so I can animate it separately. So let's deal with some labels. Arm. You just call this Mel, and this is really, it says it's called background, but it's really the sketch. So let's save our work as usual. Now, question. Is this guy getting a little off character? I think he might be. Now the only difference between this frame and the when his eye position changes is in fact the eyes, so it's stupid to have his eyes in this shot here. And now what we're going to do is go into behind mode, and let's knock out some color here. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is just put a border right there, and then we're going to get mouse flesh tone, which is a little bit more pinky, perhaps more pinky than some characters. And it appears we have sprung a leak. Yep, right there. Cool beans. Got that. And then, as we will recall, he had, let's get the quintessentially purple Mel hair and apply that to the eyebrows as well. And then his headband is like a really dark green. And then his garment in general is a somewhat desaturated green as well. Cool. So now the arm, we can go ahead and color it thusly. Whoops. And boom, we sprung a leak. So, that's kind of strange. Oh, I see. The issue is actually right there. So that should fill properly. And then we can solo the layer. And what we'll do is just use the filled shape tool. And then obviously the arm needs to be underneath. So blah, blah, blah. Right, file, save. So yeah, actually this shot's going to go pretty quick. It's looking like. Okay, so on the arm, let's go ahead and bake in the shadows. So we'll go black in normal mode, alpha locked with an opacity of 12. And again, what we're doing is we're using the freehand path tool. Okay, that's not quite going to work actually. And I wish that KRITA would remember where I set the opacity even when I switch brushes. Now to be fair, if it did, I'd probably be complaining about that. I'd be like, man, I want to have the settings locked to the tool, you know, or whatever. So either way, it's kind of like there's something to complain about. Now, right here, obviously if I do this again, we're going to get the shadow color building up. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and crank my opacity back up and then put this in that way. Okay, so the arm is taken care of, and now we can deal with Mel, which in this case, again, we need to roll this back to, it seems like 12% is feeling about right. So there's, well, actually in this case, I guess this would be maybe a little bit of backlight right there. Boom, boom, boom. That feels pretty good. I don't think I want to overdo the shadow situation here. And then we'll go ahead and give him a little bit around his, like so. So that feels pretty good. And maybe a little bit up top here as well. What about the nose? That's cool. Okay. File, save. Alright, as long as we're here, let's get his little eyeballs in there. Just hit the B key. We're just going to do oops, don't want alpha lock. And by the way, actually, as long as I'm here and thinking about it, let's just kind of fix this up a bit too. There we go. And I guess we could even correct this. Okay, back to the eyes. So let's call this eyes. Save our work. Just constantly saving as I go. Alright. And this is going to be pretty dark. So this is going to require a keyframe. So let's save that, or put that in, I should say. Save our work, and then let me see. So he says, it's just that there was this, okay. And this should not be at 24, this should be 8. And in all likelihood, we're going to have maybe 42 frames. Well, I guess we'll make it 48 just because the number 48 is more fun than 42, right? Everybody knows that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, okay, I think what I'm going to do here is just for again for fun, I'm going to go ahead and put a little darting action in here. It's just that there's this. Okay, and right here, we'll do it that way. Okay, and then obviously, because we're not stupid, we're going to erase that. Okay, so it's just that there was this girl. Okay, let's get his lip sync done. Okay, by the way, going back to Mel here, sometimes you just have to sort of get away from something for a bit, and then all of a sudden you notice things you didn't notice before. In this case, I'm thinking his chin is too long. Cool. That's fine. Alright, so now we want a mouth layer. M-O-U-T-H. Boom. B key, actually. Want this. Full opacity. Let's just make it black. Okay. And we'll go 1 minute or 1 second in. Insert. It's just silly. It's just there. Okay, right there. There was this girl. Okay, now file, save. Okay, so let's make this somewhat more transparent so it sits in the mix better. And then I think, let's actually make a little correction here. It's going to take a bit of work. Let's save, because I think I want to animate these eyebrows a little bit. So let's go, see the Mel layer is just a static layer, so we've got Control X, Control V, Control X, Control V. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll bake this down, so now we've got the brows on their own layer. Handy, very handy. Okay, now let's take this out. Okay, what did I just do wrong? I'm having a dyslexia moment. Dyslexia moment means I literally can't ferret out what is in which layer. So that's soloed is just the brows, and here, so this brow, for whatever stupid reason, did not actually get cut out. Okay, XV, bake that down. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, so now let's go here and solo that, and then Control Shift A to select all. And now what I'm going to do actually is use this tool once again to just clean that all up. Okay, and I inadvertently introduced a glitch, as you might have noticed, that I will now fix. Okay, so now we unsolo that layer, and again we're going to call this BROUS or BROWS. Yes, I actually can spell. And I think what I want to do is go ahead and clean this layer up. Meaning, I don't actually want the flesh tone in there, since I already filled it. I mean, if a little bit's around the edges, that's fine. Actually, I'm going to redo that. If there's a little bit, that's okay. Like that, that's fine. But I want to give myself a little more latitude for animating. So I'm going to just kind of rotate my screen so I can accommodate my right-handedness a little bit better. And then this is definitely going to be cleaned up. Clean it up. Clean it up. How are we doing on time? I'm actually, one of the most useful aspects of doing this on YouTube is that it forces me to, okay, really? To have a timer. This is actually quite useful. So I can track my work a little better. Okay, I really seriously want this brush, and I also want to hit Alt Q to turn off the stabilization. No, that's my hotkey. Okay, so your KRITA in all likelihood will not have Alt Q as a hotkey for deactivating stabilization. I set that up myself. Now, what we're going to do is, since we're here and we really don't have anything better to do, let's go ahead and use the Liquify tool to actually tighten up the expression here. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of think about what we want to do. Yeah, let's... Okay, so we'll start there. So he says, it's just... Okay, what if... Let's just try this. We're going to... Right here, when he says it's just... I'm thinking... Little furrow on the brow. Okay. Save that. It's just... There was this girl. Okay. And now what we're going to do is go back to his eyes layer, and we're going to actually change his expression completely. So I got to get the timing of it. This girl, boom, right there. Yeah, so 40. Okay. In the eye layer, on frame 40, we're going to insert a key, and then we're going to do all kinds of cheating. we're going to actually hide this part of this frame, cell, whatever you want to call it, so that I can create this new expression. So let's save that. We got a key there? Yep, we sure do. So now let's go B key for brush. And what I'm feeling, okay, I don't know about the, I'm going to look at my storyboard, because in my storyboard I kind of nailed the expression. Yeah, this is what we want. We don't even want the whites of his eyes. We're just going to get that moment where he caught himself. Okay, and in the mouth layer, by the way, notice this. You cannot click here and be operating in the mouth layer. You have to click here or catch it up here in the layers. So there's a certain definite expression we're trying to go for here. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is, whoops. Oh heck, let's just do it like that. We'll just have fun with it. Okay. It's just there was this girl. Because then it cuts to Asher, who kind of is like, you know, and then he's like, no, it's nothing like that, right? So this shot is probably not quite long enough, I think. Just, there was this girl. Yeah, I like that. I really like the expression. So 48 is, let's go 56. Oh, I always take it as a good sign when a shot makes me laugh. Okay. Alright, so, well, what about the guy's arm? Let's do this. Now, what I've done here is, here's the thing. What you're going to bump into, it all the time, too, is if I would have drawn the arm in the down position, then the problem is that if I go to animate it and raise it up, because we don't have an infinite canvas, half of his arm would be cut off, and so in the later frames I would have to repaint in the arm. So I always, two things. Number one, from a framing standpoint, I always try to keep the character framed inside the area as opposed to bleeding off of it. Of course, I break that rule plenty of times for various reasons, but as a general policy, that's what you want to do. Because then, like, he's going to say there was this girl and his arm is going to land here, right? Okay, so now let's just say there's going to be a bounce back from that. So let's anchor him on his shoulder, and then let's just work backwards like so. So this has to happen over about a quarter of a second, so you're really only talking about a couple frames. Okay, so I'm gonna, right, and because I've got this frame back here, I'm starting with a clean one every time. Now this is where, KRITA just exploded. Okay. That doesn't happen very often. That's not good. I don't know how much work I just lost, but I lost some work because I was talking to you, and because of that, I was not saving as frequently as I was at the beginning. So, but I think I probably just maybe lost kind of a lot. Okay, so that's all right. This is 137. And what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to look and see if we have an autosave, because I'm going to look at 137.ping.cra and I'm going to look at 137.ping.cra autosave and see which one's newer. So this is a very, very, very sucky thing to have to do, but it is what it is. So bear with me here, folks. I'm a little confused. I'm not actually seeing any of them. So this has just turned into potentially quite a disaster. So this, oh, I see, it's 136. Well, that explains a lot. Yeah, because 137 was the one where his eye expression changes. So bear with me. Bear with me, friends, while we search through. And let's just do a search with star 136 star. Okay, see what we have. Okay, this is way problematic. So we want to go dot cra dot, so that we're not getting a bunch of well, okay, that's interesting. So all I can say is I apologize, because for the entire freaking planet to have to sit and wait for me to find the file because KRITA blew up kind of sucks. Kind of says, geez, dude, why don't you like do a bunch of like editing on your video so that, you know, like just cut that out, man. Okay, 417. Okay, so what I'm going to do actually here, let me just pop this in real quick and see what I've got. Let me just see. Okay, we'll just go with this. That's fine. Because I'm not seeing the autosave, which is really strange, because the autosave should be here. So yeah, what could possibly be more boring than watching someone literally painstakingly search through a folder, having to eyeball whether a specific file name pattern exists. Yeah, there is no autosave for it, so that's fine. All we lost was animating the arm, which, you know, is what I was demonstrating. So let's just go to the arm and again put in a key. Okay. And file, save. Sure is a good thing I save frequently. I'm going to hit the A key. There's something that's bugging me here, by the way, is I'm not seeing quite enough volume here in the hair here. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now we got the arm. I'm going to look at how we're doing on our time. 34 minutes. Honestly, we're actually doing pretty good. All right, so what we said was we're going to have basically 3 keys here. We're going to have the Animate tool. Really? No. We're going to use the arm. Okay, so little bounce back. So actually this key here could oh my god, KRITA just blew up again. Okay, well, I haven't I've been using this version of KRITA for the last couple weeks and it's been astonishingly stable. So what the heck is going on today? I have no idea. And for all of you who are screaming at your screen saying, why don't you just do it in Tahoma, Dave? Why don't you just do it there? Well, there's no such thing as this is why I'm not a fanboy for any of these softwares that you can use, because the reality is that they all have problems, and I won't lie to you. I've found bugs in Tahoma. Okay, tis what it is. So, but what I am going to do here is I'm going to literally save every single step I take. Just save. Okay, A key on the arm. Okay, file, save. Reason being, I just clicked in the layers, and in KRITA 4.4 beta, what seems to cause it to crash by far more than any other thing is you're doing something in the layers column, moving a layer, and it's really hard to predict what causes it or what the triggers are. So now we can go ahead and work backwards. So, and I'm just going to hit Control S after every single operation. Now the last time what first triggered it appears to have been the onion skinning. So let's turn it on and see what happens. Okay, so here, one. I wonder if it'll let me do that. It'd be sure cool if it did, but it looks like the answer would be no. Okay, so that means we got this key here and this key here, but we don't have the one in between. Better save. Save our work. And we'll split the difference. And now what we can do is grab this and have it just be kind of sort of, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here and then use the Liquify tool to actually do some major ridiculous surgery on it. Hide that, and then what I want to do here is just get a little hint of his arm. Okay, and then we'll just take this out as well. So boom, that's done. File, save. So I think that's probably going to look about right. Let's turn the onion skins back off and hit the old play button. Not too bad. I might want to move the keys. There's this girl. I'm going to take this one. Okay, let's stop. I'm going to take this one and move it forward over top of that one so that the whole motion happens faster. And I would say same thing again. I'm going to take these two. That probably won't work. I need to shift this one here and then this one here. So I want the whole motion to be snappier. Yeah, that's better. That feels better. Okay, save. So, yeah, I mean, there are worse things that could happen. It's just, there was this girl. Boom. Perfect. Okay, that works. Alright, so now let's just deal with the background and this shot will be done, which is great. What do we got? 56, that's 7 seconds. So that puts us over the edge today where we've got our 15 seconds. 30 would be ideal, but 15 is acceptable. At the pace of 15 finished complete seconds per day, I can in fact complete an episode in 3 months comfortably. At 30 seconds a day, I can bring it down under 2 months, obviously. So let's see here. What about the background? Well, on the last shot, we had, let's pull that one up and see if we can actually cannibalize a piece of the background. Okay, so let's open, what was that? That was 135, so let's go. Boom, 135. Hello? I said 135, not 1,385. Okay, so now this in copy layer, this is a layer operation, so therefore we're highly likely to have a crash right now. So let's save. Okay, so now the problem obviously is that we don't want to go from this background in the really wide shot to this background here as well. So I'm thinking, let's just scale it up. And actually, I think I want to do this. Okay. Yes, I want to catch the edge of the tent, so let's go file save, and now let's just have a little fun painting. I need to go way back here and look at the initial overhead shot to see what color the tent stuff was. Okay, so what we've got is kind of a diffused um, something like this. Okay, and then let's just give it a little darker kind of version of it here and put in the sort of the border edge of the tent. And then what we'll do is there actually was supposed to be another tent behind it, but probably the easiest way to handle this would be to just erase all of this and then jump into behind mode. So here we go, behind mode. That means everything we do from here will not affect the stuff I just drew, right? So let's go ahead and put in a little bit of sky. Now wait, that won't work. We've got to work from the ground up because everything's going to be overlapping everything else. Hope that makes sense. So let's just say, okay, and then, yeah, the other tent unfortunately was kind of tan colored, which isn't going to work so well. So we're going to, fortunately nobody in the audience is going to remember that. So I'm going to actually just go like this. Sorry. We want to be back in normal mode so we can. Okay, and then kind of get kind of an interior in there. I guess if you're having a bunch of tents lined up like at the fair, the idea of seeing the sky behind them is kind of a non-starter. So we're just going to go with this. And now I'm going to grab my pencil and sort of just sketch in some detail here that absolutely means nothing, makes no sense at all, but it looks alright. I'm going to soften that up a bit, and then probably, actually, let's just kind of do the shadow-ish thing. Meaning, grab this guy, turn his opacity way down, so I can just sort of create a little bit of an effect here that, again, this isn't supposed to necessarily make any sense at all, but as long as it looks like there's kind of some things hanging in the background here or whatever, that's really all we need, because it's not really clear what the situation is. Again, it's just background. It's not supposed to really mean anything. It'd be kind of like if you set up a tent at the fair, you set up a table, it's like a soup kitchen environment, and now what's in the back of the tent? Well, it's a couple bags of flour or vegetables or the things that go in the soup. That's what you would have back there. So I'm just kind of like winging it on that basis. And just for fun, I'm going to give this a little texture. And rock and roll, baby. Okay, so generally speaking, what I've been finding is that if you kind of do the Cora thing, which is to sort of overlay all your shots with some kind of gradient to just give it some interest, that seems to actually look fairly cool. So, what the heck? A little bit of vignette, and then the vignette should kind of begin to encroach on Mel a little, like so. Okay, and then typically what seems to work pretty well is do overlay mode, which gives a little richness to the color, the skin tones and whatnot, and then just dupe it in normal mode, and then just turn it way down and just carefully dial it in a little bit. And that, it just tends to make the whole thing look a little tighter, if you want to say a little more professional or whatever. Now, one thing I am also going to do here is on Mel is I can see one spot where I want to put another shadow. Whoa, wrong brush there, folks. Z key. Okay, and yeah, we got to crank down the opacity. But yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I mean, all in all, I ain't complaining. That looks like a pretty good shot. So let's save our work and let's render it. Okay, so this is shot number, what did I say it was? I gotta scroll through here and say, well, this is 136. Okay, so one of the nice things about KRITA is if I actually just go in here and change these settings, so this is 136 with a subfolder called render, even though neither the 136 folder or the render folder inside of it, neither one of them exist. But just by putting that path in there, KRITA goes ahead vis-a-vis FFmpeg. So I don't know if FFmpeg is actually doing this or if KRITA is doing it, but it creates all the folders necessary. And when I go back to the edit, I will magically find that the files are there. So now what I'm going to do is actually transition back to our editor. That's actually our script we're looking at there, but we want to go here and then just go scene 136. Right there it is. There's the render folder, and as I said, there's my shots, or my frames, I guess I should say. This is actually 8 frames per second. Drag it in here, and then we turn off interpolation so it doesn't try to interpolate between two more frames between each of the 8 frame per minute stuff. Okay, and so let's just kind of see how this feels. Let's go back to here. Focus, Mel. Sorry, Asher. I'm on it. Okay, and then Luca's laughing. Yeah, yuck it up, kid. And so now we go back to this. He says, got to learn to focus. I'm sorry, Asher. It's just, well, there was this girl. There you go. And so now the next shot is going to be Asher kind of responding to that. And so the one thing I do see here is I think I want to extend this hairline out again. I don't know if I did that and lost it in the little short crash or not, but that's really easy to fix. We can just go the A key, take the Liquify tool, and now let's just expand that a little bit. So this is a little more consistent with what we saw in the wide shot previous. That should do the trick. Maybe even a little more, actually. Yeah, it's probably not too bad. And so now we can just go like that. It's going to overwrite everything. And when we switch back to our video editor, it'll just be updated, which is quite nice. Oh yeah, that looks better. I'm liking it. I guess one thing that I could maybe argue is that I'm losing his eyes a bit, but if we look at the big screen, let's just take a look here. It's probably okay. It's probably okay. Now you'll notice it looks slightly blurry. That is actually by design. If I turn off effects, you'll see how sharp that looks. And what I've been finding, if I compare it to other like animes or cartoons out there, is if I do just a 1 pixel, essentially a 1 pixel blur on my whole show, it makes the whole show look better, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, it is what it is. So the question then was, do we want to make these eyes right there a little more visible? All right, let us play. And then the shot will be done, and we'll be clocking in under an hour, so that's pretty good. So I'm finding, kind of according to the plan, An hour seems to give you a shot. Therefore, broadly speaking, 3 hours gives you about 15 seconds a show. Foo. So yeah, I'm just wanting to do that. And then as long as we're here, I can see this little flaw right here that needs to be repaired. So as long as we're here and thinking about it. Okay, got a little problem. We need to turn these tints off because they're actually corrupting the color that I'm trying to add right now. So let me just see. Yeah, that's okay. The little bit here, I think, doesn't really matter if you look at it at side. I mean, okay. We should probably fix that. Let's go to Mel, and I think if we actually solo this, okay, not the eyes, the Mel. Yeah, there's the problem right there. We're actually seeing the background sneak through, so I'm going to have to do a little quick surgery here. Little quick surgery. Okay, that should clean that up. Okay, yeah, that looks way better. Alright, the only other thing I guess I could say I'm having a bit of an issue with would be this little bit right here. Again, I need to solo the layer to pull this off. But I think that should actually be colored in. So, I'm coming in under time, so I might as well take a little extra time and tweak a few things. You can be anal about so-called quality. I look at it pragmatically. Sometimes you sort of knock yourself out massaging details, on and on and on it goes. And sometimes you go, you know what, it's good enough, it's looking fine, let's just call it a locked shot and be done with it. So in this case, we're kind of walking that tightrope a little bit, aren't we? Whoops. Take that last one off and just go boop, boop, boop. Okay, 5N. Yeah, and actually, here's another item. Again, as long as we're here, it's cost us very little to make it just a little bit better, so what the heck. There we go. You say, well, there's more, Dave, there's more. There's always more. There's always more to fix. Welcome to the real world, people. There's always more to fix. So this has been a bit of an arduous session. Since his arm, I guess I'm getting more ambitious here. But since his arm is kind of just sitting there for a while, you know, when it's in motion, I don't care, right? Like here, but this spot right here probably should, oops. Oh, how'd I get in erase mode? You're silly goose. You are not supposed to be in erase mode for that. Okay. So that just cleans that up. Now we can go back to Mel here and maybe even okay, stop. Save. Mel. That's what I said earlier. You can't select the frames. You have to select the layer specifically. Okay, let's just pull back a little bit and see what we've got. And I think that does it. I think we're done. Okay, we will do a quick render. Boom. Just copy over what we had before. And then in the time it takes me to transition to the other screen, we'll have the final version of the shot. And there it is. Looks good. Alright, that's it. As you guys know, there will be more later.